After all these years, I still use my Lumix S5. The OG Lumix S5 I used it yesterday on a professional shoot for a very big client from France, and the client couldn't actually see a difference between the Lumix S1H and the Lumix S5, and this was for a pretty big international client. They were ultra happy with the S5. Do they really need then ProRes, RAW, high quality red camera footage or Nikon camera footage or whatever? Is it really about the gear? We answer this for the final and last time today on this channel. So is it about the gear or is it not about the gear? In what stage of your career should you buy an expensive camera? When should you tank all your money into that one camera? If you don't know me, my name is Paul. I'm a German freelancer. I'm a videographer. I work 100% full-time with my Lumix S1H, with my Lumix S5, and I work for sometimes big clients, million and billion dollar companies. I have also sometimes small clients and little video music clients, and also the Prince of Cameroon is also a client. When do you need amazing equipment and when do you need amazing cameras? I mean, you always want the best and greatest camera you can get. You always want the best bang for your buck, and you always want a nice 4K 100 bazillion FPS and ultra dynamic range and whatever. But is this really true for your client? Your client wants basically a reliable cameraman. The client you work for has actually more in mind than just your camera. Your client wants basically a reliable, fast responding, communicative person that he can count on a shoot. A client wants far more than just a big camera. He wants you to know your camera and to be fast and reliable. That's sometimes much more important than the camera. And the answer to this question is, you want a reliable and ultra fast and good camera when you work for big clients that want you to only film for them. When you only shoot images, when you only shoot videos, when you only shoot videos for a client and you deliver them your footage, you cannot change anything about the footage. The client demands from you that the footage he receives from you is usable. That means, let's say if you shoot 10 clips and the client can only use maybe one clip because all the other clips are too bright, too dark, and camera movement is shit, that's obviously also your fault because you cannot handle your camera pretty well, so learn your camera. The client wants also to give this to another editor that is maybe used to work with, I don't know, ProRes footage or any other footage. And you need then a good camera when you cannot change anything about your footage. Because when you work with your camera, you know your footage and you can tweak and color grade and you can then export your footage as you want it. The client will then mostly never see if you have then the bestest, latest and greatest camera technique, or if you use the, I don't know, Sony Alpha 6400 or a 10-year-old camera or Canon 5D whatever, or the Lumix S5. The client won't see any difference. When will the client see a difference? Well, in the simplest part, when it's so easy and when it's so necessary to have a great camera. When you do interviews. I know it sounds weird, the client doesn't maybe see so much of a difference, but interviews, how is this important? Well, interviews have some crazy lighting situations sometimes. Not often is it the case that you film in a well-lit environment, you have then the best and greatest lighting technique, a nice empty hallway or a nice empty storage or whatever that looks like Netflix. You're then in an office. You're in a shitty office. Your office is then white walls, some not many decorations in the background, a plant maybe if you're lucky, a desk, PC, cable, and that looks like whatever. You have windows also in the background because your client expects you to film at 1 PM. It's super bright and you haven't gotten a 900 watt light. What I want to say is your camera needs to have high dynamic range because of difficult lighting situations. You cannot then change anything, and you also want a camera that can shoot after the 30-minute limit. The 30-minute limit in a camera is a tax regulation thing where certain cameras are marked as video cameras pay a higher tax rate. That's why they are more expensive. That's why cameras that can shoot past the 30 minutes are a little bit more expensive than the cameras that break the recording after 30 minutes. and the 30-minute mark, you don't maybe think, well, I don't need so much the 30-minute mark. Wrong. You need the 30-minute mark more than you think. You need often the 30-minute mark. I need it almost every interview I do. It's not only that you then do the interview, ask 5 questions and that it was 10 minutes, that's okay, nice. You start rolling the cameras a little bit 5 minutes before the interview. Then you repeat some questions, you go back and forth. I have so often the situation that an interview is maybe 1 hour. That's easy. And with the camera that breaks the recording after 30 seconds, is that not possible. Also, when you want to record music concerts. I was recently in a church filming classical music and a laser choreography show with some fog and everything. Was a pretty cool combination, and the client didn't knew what kind of section of the music he wanted. That was 45 minutes. It was basically 1 hour, 1 take with both cameras. You need then also enough power for the camera. I made a separate video how to build cheap power solution for the Lumix S5, for instance, or for the Lumix S1H with like the NPF battery adapter. My suggestion, what I would recommend everyone, get big V-mount batteries. And now they are expensive. You spend for 2 of these babies almost 1,000 euro, for the battery charger 150 euro, the backplate is 150 euro, the cable is some euro, and you spend then 1,500 euro for 2 of these batteries with cables, accessories and everything. But it's worth every penny, because you want reliable power. Because when you shoot in 4K, 25 FPS, 10-bit vlog, your battery drains much faster as you shoot your day-to-day B-roll in MP4, 8-bit or whatever. Your camera works then really hard. On this day on your shoot, it is maybe also cold outside, so your battery drains even faster. When it's cold outside, get a V-mount battery solution. That's probably a thing you need for professional work. And for professional work, is it necessary to have great gear in terms of light? Light is also important. You can go either routes. You can market yourself as the guy that has the best camera and the best lenses and it looks everything super cool, or you have then okay camera and you purchase a good light setup. This light setup here is actually ultra cheap. That's from, I don't know, Temu stuff. I don't know, that cost maybe, that sounds like 5 euro or something. Or I don't know, 10 euro, I don't know. And this light over here, I showed you, that's a little, the light over me is just the little roll-eye lumen stick. That's whatever RGB light stick. And that's how the interview looks here, nice and clean. And I have another light here. That's actually the Xeon Molus X60 RGB light. That's a pretty cool light. I received it for a little cooperation with Xeon. I have a link in the description for this light. That's 60-watt light. For real, get this light if you want to film nice interviews of one person. This light is enough for filming one person, even when you have a bright backlit window and you have to counter the sun. This light is more than enough. That's the thing. Professional camera is one thing and professional lighting setup is the other thing. If you don't have the latest and greatest camera, then go for the route purchasing better light equipment. Then your camera looks obviously way better after this. If you have already great light equipment, then go for the camera. Light is everything. Besides your clients expect you to film, I had also the requests, can you then deliver like ProRes RAW or whatever. The client from the church asked me, he wants RAW footage. Ask the client then why. I mean, I could rent a monitor and I could deliver him this terabytes of footage, but he didn't know actually the term RAW. And when the client books you for only filming, then ask him what he wants to do with the footage. What is the purpose of the shoot? What is how will it be delivered? And then you tell him, you know what, my camera can deliver, the highest standard is this and this. The Lumix S1H, the highest standard is 6K, 10-bit, 30 FPS. and in Germany here, obviously in Europe, 25 FPS is the way to go. I say to my client, do you want to produce for whatever, Netflix or whatever? I can give you really high quality, all intra codec, 400 Mbits per second. That's a very nice codec. And often, more than often, says the client, well, that's a little bit too much for me. I want to work fast with the footage. I want to make little Instagram reels of it. And then I say, well, I film you this in 8-bit MOV and I shoot then in a codec that is the long GOP codec that saves a little bit data. That's 250 Mbits per second. Your storage from your little laptop is then not flooded with 350 gigabytes of footage. You only receive then 80 or 90 gigabytes of footage, and that's then more than okay for the client. Often is my camera more than enough for clients. I work with my Lumix S1H and the S5 for sometimes million and billion dollar companies. Voestalpine, for instance, is a big player in railway systems, and they hired me now the second time for a really big event, and they were absolutely happy with the footage. Because when you deliver for the client also a video, the post-production, then sometimes you can only shoot 8-bit and whatever, because you don't actually need the latest footage. But in short, to wrap up this video, if the client books you for only filming, you need a very good camera, because you cannot change anything about the footage and the client wants the best he can get for its money. So maybe try then to get a nice camera. If you then also do post-production, you can cheat a little bit. I hope you learned something from this video. My name is Paul, I'm a freelancer from Berlin, Germany. Subscribe to this channel. If you want to see more of my behind the scenes stuff, then subscribe to my Instagram account. I post a lot of behind the scenes stuff there. If you have any questions, then put it in the comments. We see us in the next video.